to the Sacred Siren Circle, a sacred space for soul led women ready to reclaim their voice, remember their power, and rise in sisterhood. I am your host, Marnie Benninger, mama, soulpreneur, rebirth alchemist, Ayurvedic guide, and sacred space holder for women who are done living in silence. Each week, we gather in this circle to share stories, tools, and transmissions that awaken your feminine fire and help you live, lead, and love in alignment. So take a breath, drop in, and let your sacred siren rise. Hello, hello, beautiful goddesses. It is so great to be back in circle with you. I've lit a candle and grounded us in here. And I just want to thank everyone for listening to the first few episodes of the Sacred Siren Circle. And the response has been amazing. Thank you for sharing your stories and just being so open to hearing how we can heal as a collective and how we can be that we are all one. We're going through so many of the similar things. So I had so many different ideas about what I wanted to talk about today. And the one that actually just kept ringing true and that just kept calling to me was that sacred in between. So that space in between, like who you were and who you are becoming. It's often the space in between when something ends and when something new begins, right? So it's that like really sacred in between time. I know it's messy, it's hard, it feels icky. It's the space we want to like really just get through. Like we don't even want to deal with it. We just want to like jump over to the other side, right? We know that the other side has so much waiting for us. And I know that this space in between can feel like an identity loss. Like we're not sure even who we are in this space between because we aren't who we were. We aren't who we're becoming. We're just this like this thing in between, this person in between that like doesn't quite feel grounded, doesn't quite feel like someone. I know like when I closed down my spa business, that was such a huge part of my identity that I really felt lost. I really didn't know who I was. I know when my husband had his affairs that and I stayed that I wasn't really sure because I wasn't who I wanted to be or who I authentically was, but I wasn't who I was before that as well. And now, with my husband having left almost a couple of weeks ago now, and now transitioning into this like new person and reclaiming this like voice and everything. It's this very like raw time. And I had a couple moments this weekend that were very clear where it was like, I had a moment of like, oh, what if we tried again? What if I asked him to come back? Like, what if I went back to that? So it could be, what if I went back to that relationship? What if I went back to that job? What if I went back? Because becoming authentically who we are meant to be and like fully claiming our sacred siren voice and like just taking up all that space and no longer playing small, it's scary. It's hard. Change is hard. And it's easy to go back to how it was. And it's easy to miss who we were as well. And it's okay. It's okay to miss who we were. It's okay to want to go back sometimes because sometimes that is easier. Not sometimes, it's often easier. Um, Even if it was difficult in that moment, like in that space, it's easier to stay in what you know than to like be in the scary unknown. And so I had to really sit with it this weekend and I was like, what is it? What am I really feeling? And what am I really wanting by even considering anything else? Right. And it was that there's the fear. There's the fear that I won't meet someone else. There's the fear that I made a mistake, that I am uprooting my children's lives for no reason, that I am unworthy of a deep love um, that is meant for all of us, that I can't make my business work, that I need to have a partner to be successful in this life, all of these fears. And I realized, oh, I'm just deeply afraid. It's not that I actually want to be the person I was or be in that relationship that I was in. I don't actually want to be back in that marriage at all. That's not what it was at all. It was just that I was letting the fear. I was letting this fear talk a little bit. And not a little bit, it took over for a day. It had its rearing its ugly head, being like, you know, you're not enough. You're not worthy. This is not going to work. You made a mistake. And I think that's why so many people stay in jobs they hate for so long, that they stay in relationships that are not working for so long, that there's just so much fear. And I did a beautiful fear, overcoming fear, 3-day retreat with some beautiful goddesses a few weeks ago. And we talked so much about fear and so much about like how it can control our life and how it shows up in our lives. And you know what? Even when you think, because I have done this work, I'm like, I've been there, I've done this, I'm ready. And it still comes up because it's still part of life. And we still have to like transition through all of these things. So then what did I do? I sat in meditation, and I sat with the questions of like, what if? What if I don't find another partner? What if I don't find someone who loves me as the goddess that I know I am? And I was like, that's okay. I actually don't need that relationship to be fully um sustained and successful, to be sensual and fulfilled sexually as well. That actually wasn't where I was going, but to be successful is what I was trying to say. But my voice was actually saying like, my womb space doesn't need that partner to be complete, to be whole, that I am whole on my own. And what if my business doesn't succeed? And um, I already know that this is what was best for the children, so I have no doubts there. That one was just kind of a little side, I feel like, thing. But it was like, what if the business doesn't succeed? And I'm like, I know I can. I am $1 million business. I have done it. I'll do it again. And there's just there's just fears. These are just fears. And so I actually just sent so much love and compassion to them. And I just sat with them and I saw them. And I just I just loved, and I just recognized them and acknowledged them. And I acknowledged that a lot of these were ancestral fears as well. A lot of fears that weren't even mine were being held in my body, like fears of why some of my ancestors potentially stayed in situations that they never wanted to, or that weren't enough, that they weren't treated as the goddess that they truly were. And they stayed because of the kids. I hear this so often. I've heard this so many times when people have found it and they're like, oh, I'm staying for the kids. So I've got at 10 more years. I can tell you, I did that. I even said that to my kid's father. I remember telling him maybe a year or two ago that I was like, in 11 years when our youngest graduates, I will be leaving, like we'll be splitting up. Like I don't see a long-term future with you. And he was like, well, then what are we doing? Why are we together now? I was like, because it's what's best for the kids, right? Like at the time, we still hadn't had the conversation about divorce and separation. I mean, kind of, but not really. And I knew this wasn't what I wanted in my life at all. And yet I stayed. And it's the same with the spa. Oh my God, this pattern repeats over and over and over again in my life. And I pushed through, I took out loans, I did things so that I could keep it and stay with it. And because I was so afraid of what was on the other side, that um that the ending wouldn't be a better beginning. Um, and that, that loneliness in between, that that I had to like prove something as well. So like if I stayed in my marriage, if I kept the business running, I was proving something to everyone but me. And I saw something this weekend that was talking about Chiron and how um that there was this quote within it, or there's this thing within it, and it was, he didn't heal to prove anything. He healed to become someone new. And that was the moment that I was like, right. I am not rising. I am not embodying the sacred siren to prove to anybody else that I can do this. I am not proving to my ex that I am worth something. I am not, proving to my parents, proving to my town that I am $1 million business. I am $1 billion business. I am not proving it to anyone. I am doing the healing work. I made the endings, or I chose the endings to really come back into myself, to really authentically embody myself, to really authentically speak my truth, to bring voices for other women to be heard and talk about their truths. And so it really became a thing about what I am no longer tolerating, even as it hurts to let go. And this was the other piece, um, that it's okay to hurt. It's okay to be in grief. It's okay to feel sadness. And we just rush through that so quickly. And we try to get through the messy, uncomfortable parts so fast because they're uncomfortable. And I will tell you, my biggest shifts and changes have come through being in the most uncomfortable, saddest places that I ever thought I could be. That the person I embodied on the other side of that grief and sadness was who I was meant to walk this path as. And as I would reach out, or as people would hear my story, or they would hear other pieces, there would be so many people standing beside you that you didn't even know. Your ancestors are always standing beside you, in front of you, around you. The divine has your back. And this morning, as I was walking on my walk, that's the feeling I had. The sunshine was on my back as I was walking. And I was like, right, that's what it feels like, that someone's got my back. That warmth, that holding. And I'm not tolerating not being seen and heard anymore. And I'm not tolerating not being treated like the immense goddess that I am, that I'm not being tolerated like I'm $1 million, because I am. I am worth that and more. And so are you. And it's reaching out to it's reaching out to your community. It's reaching out to those you know that can be. And how can you honor that space in between of like no longer and not yet? And how can you trust your becoming, even if no one is clapping for you yet? And so I'm right here with you on this journey of like, I am not who I'm going to be yet, but I'm also not who I was. I am not the silent she. I am not that person who's not willing to speak up when things are tough and hard, and and not what I desire. But I also am not doing it to get the accolades. I'm not doing it to have someone clap and go, good for you. I am doing it to be able to look myself in the mirror and go, good for you. There you are, beautiful. I see you, I hear you, I hold you. I am becoming, I am reclaiming myself to be able to look myself in the mirror and be like, that is who I am. That is who Marnie Jane Menninger is. That is the woman who is walking this path so strongly that she is inspiring other women. That is the woman who is giving other women a voice to speak. And today, I was talking to one of my good friends. She's going to be on the podcast either this or the circle this week or next week. But we were doing her interview today, and she said something that just reminded me so deeply, that she was like, I didn't even know what I liked to eat when she was in the marriage that she was in. And that's how, like, and she was like, but I was this outspoken, I didn't mind controversy, like I was a strong woman. And yet I was allowing myself to also be the silent she, in that I didn't even know who I was. I couldn't even connect into my sacral chakra, right? I couldn't connect to my womb space. And that is exactly, that hit so hard. I was like, oh, that was it entirely. That I say this on the podcast, that it's that scene in The Runaway Bride where Richard Gere and Julia Roberts are sitting down in a cafe, and she orders, I don't even know what kind of egg she ordered. And he goes, oh, interesting, because with so and so you had this kind of egg, and with so and so you had this kind of egg, and now you're eating these egg whites with so and so. And he said, you change who you are. Like it's that was the clarity of it, was like this moment of like, oh, it's even just adapting the eggs to that other person. And the other person is not asking you to eat the same eggs as them. They might say, hey, do you want an egg white omelet? But they're not saying, I can only love you if you eat this egg white omelet. We put that pressure on ourselves that we think we can only be worthy if we are like them, if we are eating the same as them. And so I really realized that when I really started to reclaim my voice is when I started to pursue what I truly loved. So really, like really starting to pursue Ayurveda, really tuning into the womb cycles and the womb space and the wild feminine alchemy. Really, it was coming into my card reading that just seemed like it was witchy, and that people would judge me, that I was out there and that I was making things up, and um, that how could I possibly believe in any of that, that none of that was really true. And basically, what I kept internalizing when I heard that was that I wasn't really true, that I wasn't good enough to believe in, that what my voice said wasn't the truth, that it wasn't worthy of being heard. Because all of those things boiled down to the same thing, which was I wasn't honoring who I was. I wasn't honoring what I was passionate about. And so today, I want us to join together and um, just think about one small step you can take that is honoring who you are. Even if it is like saying you hate something that your partner loves and that he thought you loved because you let him believe that. Or whether it is reclaiming a piece of yourself that is like card reading, that is like so intricate to who you are and how you connect to the divine and the universe, that you need to shout it from the rooftops. Maybe it is just sitting with your heart, maybe a hand on the heart, a hand on the womb, and just listening in to what your body has to say, and just taking a moment to be like, it's okay to be in this in between messy space. It's okay to not know exactly who I am becoming, because I know what I am no longer tolerating. And to sit in that space and allow that space to be powerful. And so today I felt called to end, funny enough, with a just pulling a card for us as a collective, and just seeing that as we sit in the sacred in between, as we are reclaiming who we are, as we are becoming um, our true authentic self, what does beautiful goddess Oshun have to say to us? So the Faces of Oshun deck with goddess Abiola Abrams, and just see what as a collective we need to know in this space. Oh, of course. So it goes right along with this, which we will talk about this, sacred boundaries, sacred no. But goddess Oshun that came out today was Oshun of boundaries. So this is cord cutting, energetic balance, and liberation. And so it's really sitting into how can you be yourself by setting boundaries. A sacred no is a sacred yes to who you are. And I just wanted to look at what the goddess or the declaration was in this, and it's I honor my feelings and respect myself. And it's so beautiful that this card came up at the end of this. And so it's really saying, like, if you're a people pleaser or a peacekeeper, setting and upholding boundaries can be challenging, but it's not your responsibility to manage other people's feelings or expectation at the expense of your own well-being. So I love that. Sacred boundaries, Oshun of boundaries. How can you set one that is saying yes to you while your sacred no says no to maybe other things in your life? So I'm going to leave you on that note this week. I will be dropping a guest podcast on Thursday. So be sure to listen for that. There may be one more of mine coming out this week, but most likely there'll be one or two on Mondays dropping. And a guest one always dropping on Thursdays. So be sure to listen, subscribe. If you feel called to, send me a message. Tell me how you're doing, what's resonating, what's not. And I would love if you can review, rate it as well. That just helps the podcast get out to more women and people that need to hear this. So a reminder that we may have started as a silent she, but it is not who we are becoming, and it is not who we are ending as. So let's go out into the world as the sacred siren. And I look forward to seeing you in the next Circle Loves, and have a beautiful, beautiful day.